Hey guys, it's Jeff from Pressure Luck, and today I'm going to do a recipe that Richard suggested I do and try. Also a bunch of my Canadian friends, and it is called Brunswick stew. So when I went to research this, I saw that a common thing in here is pork. I think some places will even do rabbit in this dish, but I'm using chicken. And because honestly, I think it's gonna cook the best. If we went with pork, I'll go into more details. I feel like it'll be a little bit too oily of a soup because the way it renders, but I feel like it's going to be perfect with some chicken. It's gonna be, I think, like a barbecue, like chicken style stew, if that makes sense. It's gonna give kind of that flavor to it. So I'm excited about it. We're gonna make something that's very simple, loaded with flavor, and really done with little effort and very, very, very little time. Dinner, literally on the table in under an hour with a rich stew that feels like it could have taken all day to simmer, right to the pot. We're not gonna go bowling with the Brunswick, we're gonna be making the Brunswick. Let's do it. So the first thing I wanna do is I wanna add in 2 tablespoons or 1/4 of a stick of salted butter. However, you can also use extra virgin olive oil if you'd like instead, but I'm gonna use some butter for this. But using the extra virgin olive oil will actually keep this whole entire meal dairy-free if you go that way. I'm gonna give this some heat and let it melt. All right, it's time to come down to the control panel, hit the saute button, and make sure we're on the more or high setting. So once the butter's melted in the pot, or after about 3 minutes of your oil heating up, we want to add in our veggies. In this case, I am using 2 medium-sized carrots, which I've peeled and diced into discs about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch thick, and a medium yellow onion that I've also diced. And then I'm going to saute this in the pot for about 3 minutes. Just get it slightly softened is all. Alright, and after about 3 or so minutes of sauteing our veggies, I want to add in 6 cloves, yes, 6 cloves of garlic that's minced or pressed or crushed. The stew is really nice with that extra garlicky flair to it there. And then saute for about another minute. Alright, and we're looking perfect. We're going to also want to add in now 2 tablespoons, yes, 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire, Worcestershire, whatever you want to call it, sauce. And we're going to let this simmer for about another minute. This would actually be the time right now where I tell you to deglaze the bottom of the pot, but honestly, you're probably not going to have to do that. It's pretty smooth as is. Okay, and now for our broth. A Brunswick stew is typically known to have like pulled pork in there, or some pulled chicken, or something of that nature. We're going to go with the chicken, but I'm kind of going to do a 50-50 here by making up for that by using ham broth. But of course you can use any broth. You can use chicken broth, beef broth, garlic broth. Use 6 cups of whatever you're going to go with. I'm going with ham. And now we're going to add in all of our other fun ingredients, and that's going to be a 14.5 ounce can of diced tomatoes. You can use any variety of that. And a 7 ounce can, if you can find it, of diced green chilies. These are not spicy at all. You don't have to add the chilies either if you don't want, but I'm telling you, they're very mild. It'll even say that on the can. See? Mild. Mild. Simple. Sometimes it's harder to find a 7 ounce can. You sometimes can just find them in 4 ounce cans. And if that's the case, you can just use 2 of them or 1 of them, whatever you want. And also to add to this soup's really rich and deep flavor profile, we're gonna add in 1 cup of barbecue sauce, use your favorite kind, and a 1/2 cup of ketchup. I know, ketchup and barbecue sauce in the stew, but believe me, it works. It works. And now give all of that a good stir in the pot. Now I want to take between 2 to 2.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken thighs and just lay them in the pot, nestle them in. You can use breasts if you want to as well. Totally your call. And this is also the part where sometimes people would add like a pork. But you know the reason why I'm not doing it in the Instant Pot is because the pork's going to release a lot more fat than the chicken will, and it's going to become kind of a greasy stew if we do that, and I don't really want it to go there. So I'm going with chicken, but if you really wanted to do pork, you can leave out the protein right now and just add your own pulled pork at the very end when we stir everything, and you just pressure cook this as it is. Actually, you wouldn't pressure cook it as it is just yet because we have to add in 2 other staples to a Brunswick stew, some lima beans and some corn. I'm using between a 10 to 12 ounce bag of each ounce. Oh my, Liza Minnelli, I love Liza, but ounce bag of frozen corn and lima beans each. Alright, and I'm just going to smooth that out. I'm not going to stir it, just smooth it out. And then that's it. That's all I'm adding to this pot. Very simple stuff. Alright, I'm going to put my lid on the pot. secure it and make sure it's in the sealing position. And then we'll come back down to the control panel, hit the cancel button to get us back to the home screen here, and then hit the pressure cook or manual button depending on your model. And we want to go for 8 minutes at high pressure, and that is it. And now that we're done pressure cooking, we'll perform a quick release. And the pin just dropped, so we'll take the lid off the pot, and this is already looking so pretty and colorful. The first thing I want to do now is I want to take some tongs. By the way, these have been cleaned from when I put the raw chicken in. You definitely want to make sure you clean your tongs in between that. And take the chicken out, all the thighs or breasts if you use them, and put them in a large size mixing bowl. It's okay if some of the lima beans get transferred with it, but try to keep as much of that good stuff inside of the pot. Okay, and there we have our chicken. Now what I want to do is I want to shred this chicken up. And we could either do that with 2 forks and just shred it apart very easily, which it will do. Or to save some time, we could take a hand mixer, like the stuff you'd use to make a cake batter, and put it in with the chicken and turn it on, and then just let it do the work for you. Awesome. Now, how chunky you want your chicken is up to you. If you want it to really be like a pulled chicken consistency, then just keep going until it's that shredded consistency you desire. And that can mean keeping it on the chunkier side or shredding it into oblivion. All right, so I'm gonna go back to the pot. Now I'm gonna add a few finishing touches to this stew. I'm gonna add in 1 tablespoon of, you can either use light brown sugar, dark brown sugar, or molasses. 1 tablespoon of it. 2 teaspoons of what I like to use here is like a Creole, Cajun, or Louisiana seasoning, but you can just use seasoned salt. 2 teaspoons of that, and if you want it a little spicy, what depends on how much you want to add here, I'm adding some crushed red pepper flakes, 1/4 of a teaspoon. That's all I want to add, but you can add up to a teaspoon of that. It goes a very long way though, so just be mindful. And then we'll just stir those fantastic finishing touches into our stew, and then we'll return our chicken to our stew. And then we'll give everything a final stir. And here, my friends, is our fabulous Brunswick stew. It is going to be so delicious. Let's ladle it into some bowls and try it out. Okay, and there it is. Make sure you get it full of plenty of lima beans and corn and carrots. You want to do it all up right. Okay, now let's try this out. I can't wait. It smells so good. Okay, and here's my Brunswick stew, looking gorgeous. Lots going on here, a lot, and it's hot. So I have to give it like a little blow, right? That really does so much. Here we go. Wow. Wow. This is beyond delicious. Oh my gosh. The flavors in here. The chicken. The carrot. It's delicious. It's like a barbecue chicken soup. That's the best way I can describe it, but like even better than that. Like it's got just this fantastic, rich, deep flavor that's sweet and savory, which is a really nice touch. It actually also a little bit reminds me of my Jewish brisket recipe a little bit. And like I said, if you wanted pulled pork instead of pulled chicken, which we basically did pulled chicken here in a way, you can just add it in at the very end, like I said before, because it will become very oily, the soup, from all the fat from the pork when it renders as it cooks. It's really hearty. It's really, really flavorful. And that chicken, it just melts in your mouth. This is why I do like thighs for this dish, but you can absolutely use breasts if you want instead. And here's the true test to see if this is truly a Brunswick stew, since, you know, this one over here is the one who convinced me to make it and put it on the roster, so give it a try. Tell me what you think.
Ooh, this looks like a good Brunswick stew.
And does it taste like a Brunswick stew?
Okay, well I gotta get a little bit of everything in here.
Just gonna get a little bit.
Okay.
It's okay, we got time.
Alright, you can do the little tea. Okay, this looks like a good bite. Is there Tabasco in there? I smell Tabasco.
There is not.
You know?
Is that how it should taste?
Yeah, it's the right level of tomatoes. Yeah.
Well, you just said tomato. Can you go a little more in depth?
So the tomatoes just taste like, I guess you use the tomatoes. You can't.
I use diced tomatoes and I use.
It'll have a little bit of a ketchup flavor. It's chunky.
Yeah.
A lot of times you have to soup around for stuff in there. It's like a big pot that keep going for a week at a barbecue place.
We don't do that.
Or
here.
a week at a barbecue place. Excuse me. That was my voice was running out.
You know, like Chips Ahoy, bet you pie to chip. With this one, bet you spoonful of chunk of chicken, lima bean, corn, tomato, carrot. you name it, it's in there. So it approves, it passes.
Yeah.
So the one thing I guess it's missing is some cornbread to go with it. And if you have a good cornbread recipe, he has an excellent one. Go and dunk some of that in there. We were supposed to probably have the cornbread ready before I made this, but you know, I had nothing else to do right now, and I figured this was the right window of opportunity. So we have plenty left in that pot, so we can freeze it. It'll freeze well if we wish for later, or just have the leftovers, and Richard can make his cornbread in that time. So you enjoying it?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Southern Brunswick stew approved, right?
Yeah.
Not bad for a Yankee. So just in case you didn't know, I wrote a few books. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and there's a 4th one on the way. Fourth one is gonna be green. It's called Super Shortcut Instant Pot. It is like, this recipe is so easy, but it's even easier than this, the recipes in that book, if you can believe it. And it comes out in April of 2023. Before you know it, pre-order it now anywhere books are sold. You can also check me out at facebook.com/PressureLuckCooking. Make sure you like the page, and definitely make sure you're following me, and I'm one of your favorites, otherwise I won't appear in your feeds anymore. They like to like reset that every so often on the Facebook, and at PressureLuckCooking on all the other social channels. Also subscribe to me on YouTube, of course. And so, my friends, I'm just gonna leave you with a few words of wisdom. The next time that you're chilly and you just don't know what to do, crack open your Instant Pot and make some delicious Brunswick stew. It is so freaking delicious. Give us a try.